So thank you, beautiful women, for joining me this evening for tonight's workshop, which is all about radical acceptance and embodied self-esteem. So before we jump into it, I am going to guide us through a short practice to help us to land into this space. And if you aren't familiar with this practice, if you're here with me live today or catching the replay, we're going to be entering into a state of heart congruence. And heart congruence is moving into the vibrational state of gratitude, freedom, joy, and compassion. And the reason that we do that is it lifts and elevates our vibrational state so that we are able to access more information from the known local field, the quantum field, and the universal consciousness. And so we are going to do this now. So if it is safe for you to do so, closing down your eyes, drawing in a deep breath in through the nose, filling your belly as much as possible, and hold it at the top. Holding for as long as is comfortable for you, and just beyond that point. Then let it go out through the mouth with an audible sigh. Drawing in another deep breath now, filling your belly even deeper this time. Holding at the top, noticing where you might be feeling tension in your body. And when you are ready, letting it all go out through the mouth with an audible sigh. Anchoring you into this space with your breath. We're going to take in one more deep breath together now. Breathing in through the nose, filling your belly as much as possible. Letting it go out through the mouth with an audible sigh, letting go of all that has brought you to this point in your day. Bring 2 fingers to the center of your chest. And by placing our attention here, we are diverting out of the analytical mind, out of the high beta brainwave state, into the intelligence of our heart, which is the gateway into the universal consciousness. And with your eyes closed and your breath deepened, we signify to the nervous system that it is safe to be here. Bring to mind thoughts, feelings, memories of experiences that evoke immense gratitude. It could be memories of time spent with loved ones, perhaps walking in nature, hearing the sounds of the birds, feeling the sun kissing you on top of your head. Or it could be as simple as your morning coffee that awakens you for your day. Give yourself over to these feelings of gratitude with your whole being. As you hold these feelings of gratitude, you may notice a smile gently comes on your face. I'm going to move into silence for just a couple of moments as we hold these feelings of gratitude and cultivate the vibrational state that opens us to surrender to what is to be shared with us this evening. If your mind wanders, just keep coming back in to these feelings of gratitude, gifting yourself just a few moments, perhaps for the first time today. Taking a deep breath now in through the nose and let it all go out through the mouth. Lower your hand to your lap. Bring some gentle movement back to your fingers and your toes. Perhaps stretch your body if that is what you are called to do. And when you are ready, blink open your eyes. So I am presenting this workshop tonight because it is a real introduction to the mission that I feel ordained to present to the world, especially at this time. And that is to lead, inspire, and teach radical acceptance and embodied self-esteem through creative expression. And today we're focusing on radical acceptance and embodied self-esteem to to become more intimate with what that actually means for us and how that can look for us, especially in the way the world is at the moment. And I truly believe that it is the way of the world now is so ready to integrate radical acceptance and embodied self-esteem. When we look at this pandemic that we have found ourselves in and how it's completely wiped us out of what we know, all of the known of what was our reality has completely been shifted into a complete unknown state that the world has never seen before. And on a global level as well, it hasn't just been an isolated case in some countries, it's impacted the whole entire world, which invites us then to introduce this concept of radical acceptance, which is what we're going to spend a little bit of time on first. And it is not a new concept. It is very much something that has been around since the beginning of time, whenever that beginning was. But after many societal beliefs that have come in over the many years, it has really lost its footing, really lost its place in the way that we live in this day and age. And for me, I'm going to talk a little bit about radical acceptance and my exposure to it throughout my life, because it didn't just start as within my spiritual journey. It actually started for me when I was experiencing great trauma. It's probably the best way to describe that. I was going through significant mental health challenges, and it was brought into my consciousness again how I had first been introduced this. I'm currently doing a 25-day challenge to promote awareness of mental health, and it was through that I went back and had a look at DBT therapy. So about 4 or 5 years ago now, I was being treated for borderline personality disorder, and for a couple of years I was doing DBT therapy, which is dialectical behavioral therapy. And one of the key aspects within DBT is radical acceptance, and that comes from a very psychological foundation. But beyond that, there is a deeper mystical component that we will explore in just a moment. So radical acceptance is a really powerful tool that is used throughout psychology, throughout mystical teachings, to shift out of trauma. And trauma does not necessarily just have to be things that you would absolutely declare as traumatic, where perhaps at the loss of life, or childhood things that happen in childhood where they are where our personal boundaries are completely taken from us, and all of the way that we would recognize trauma as. But trauma can be as simple as not being heard, or not having your needs met in a very basic way, and far beyond that. Trauma can be much more than just what we would expect to have hold on to as trauma. And radical acceptance enables us and empowers us to shift out of that traumatic, that fight or flight response, which is what occurs when we experience trauma and we hold onto it in our subconscious and our cellular memory, where trauma is stored. And as I have said, radical acceptance goes beyond just the teachings of, pseudosciences and psychology. It, as far as texts go, it originates from teachings within Buddhism, and you will most likely see it maintained throughout the years through monks and Buddhists, and where they are absolutely an embodiment of radical acceptance. But when I tuned in deeper to where it first began, because somehow I just knew beyond my local knowing that it has existed since the beginning of time, and I was tuning into how and where it first began. And what was coming through was within Indigenous cultures, where they have, they ritualized radical acceptance, and what came through was specifically was death. When we think about death and how that is perceived in this day and age, it is probably one of the biggest fears that we will have in this time is our fear of losing loved ones, our fear of our or even ourselves, fear of death for ourselves. And when I was tuning into radical acceptance for within ancient times, there was a radical acceptance that death was a part of our cycle, and so there was no fear around it. It was just a way of nature's evolution. It was the way that we serve our purpose in our life, and then we die, and then we give our bodies get given back to the land, and then we cycle again. And there wasn't this fear that that we have now, when somebody dies, they're gone and we never get them back. So it was interesting that came through, because the fear of losing loved ones and even fear of my own death has been quite a scary fear to work through. And then to propose that we come into a radical acceptance of death is quite a radical suggestion, even for me. So I thought it was really interesting how that came through. And ultimately, what has led us to believing in and holding such a collective fear, specifically around death. I'm going to keep coming back to that one, because that's what came through when I was tuning into this particular concept. What the underlying belief that has been accepted as the norm for us all at this time in this day and age is the belief in separation. And it is that belief in separation plays out in far more fears than just death. This belief in separation is that we are separate from whatever it is that we are not whatever we are limiting ourselves from and withholding radical acceptance of, we are holding on to a subconscious belief that we are separate from that. So say, for example, within our business, we are we may feel stuck or trapped within our or stagnant in where we are at in our business. I'm going to actually use this workshop as a perfect excuse, because I had to give it radical acceptance. Exactly. Just yesterday, I was in my separation with the outcome of this workshop, and I had and by being in separation to the outcome of this workshop, what I was doing was trying to control that outcome. So I had narrowed my vision, and because I couldn't see outside of that vision, I had become really stuck in a particular mindset and vibration. And by allowing myself to practice what I preach and give myself some radical acceptance that this workshop will be exactly what it was going to be, that then completely shifted me out of that fight-flight response, out of that need to control, out of that need to know all of the fine details of what it's going to look like, and completely surrender in radical acceptance. And so that is what radical acceptance is. That is, radical acceptance is surrender. And I'm going to refer to Ricky Jane Addams, who I know that my third level priestesses are very well familiar with, because she is our principal at the Institute of Intuitive Intelligence. But those who are here today, or perhaps watching on the replay, Ricky Jane Addams is bringing in a new movement with this complete shift up with the pandemic that we are in, and that is surrender intuition. And I feel like when I was sitting with that today, it is, radical acceptance is surrender. That is the new paradigm that we are entering into, is the paradigm of surrender, of radical acceptance. So I want you to take a moment now to think of, or bring to mind, an area in your life that you are feeling stuck. It could be in your business, it could be your health, it could be your lifestyle, perhaps your relationships, perhaps your finances. Perhaps it is, and being that I am a creative being, perhaps it is something, where you are creative, what your art form, whether that be painting or writing or movement, or just an expression of you, your way of expressing yourself. Or perhaps you feel stuck in using your voice and being heard. So bring to mind an experience now, and you may like to jot it down in your journal if you have one there. And we are going to move into a practice so that we can give this aspect of your life some radical acceptance. And when you are ready, I invite you to close down your eyes again. I want you to, with this particular block or limitation in your mind, this area in your life that you feel stuck, I want you to feel that stuckness now. I want you to feel it with your whole being, noticing where you feel it in your body, noticing the emotion that you feel towards it or about it, or just when you bring it to mind. Perhaps there is a sinking feeling in your stomach, or a weight on your shoulders. Perhaps it is heaviness in your head. Notice it and feel into it as much as you can for just a moment now, because in a few more moments' time, we will shift that energy. Once you have found what that feels like and where it feels like in your body, I want you to give it a number out of 10, with 10 being the most intense. Bring 2 fingers or the palm of your hand to the center of your chest. Bring to mind now, we're going to put down that feeling of stuckness wherever you feel it in your body, and we are going to divert our attention now to feelings of freedom. And if freedom is not coming to you so easily, then go back to that feeling of gratitude or perhaps compassion or perhaps joy. Give yourself over to this feeling with your whole being. Allow it to expand from your heart so that it fills your entire body now, from the top of your head to the tips of your toes. No effort required. And if you feel a yawn, allow that to shift out of you. That is a way to expel this energy. With every breath in, this feeling of freedom or gratitude expands from you with ease and grace, so that it fills now your entire energy body, which is radiating out of you. And it fills now the entire room in which you sit. It expands even further now to fill your entire house, so that everyone who may be in your home is being lifted and shifted in this moment with you. Allow it to expand even further now, so that it fills the entire country. And on your next breath, it expands to encircle the globe. Notice how this gratitude feels in your body, or this freedom. It could be a tingling in your heart. Or perhaps you just know it to be true. Take a deep breath in now and let it go out through the mouth. Look around for that area in your life that you have been feeling stuck, and see if you can rate it again out of 10. And just with your eyes closed, once you've found that number, raise your hand if it is above 2. Okay. We're going to go back in for just another moment now. Bring that feeling state of gratitude and freedom in again. Giving yourself over to it over and over again. As you hold these feelings, gratitude, I am holding you, and the infinite is holding us all. And when we come together in this practice of radical acceptance, as a collective group, we magnify the impact. Take a deep breath in again and let it go. Look around for that number again. And when you find it, raise your hand if it is above 2. Okay, I'm going to go in one more time. Gratitude, compassion, joy, and freedom. It could be spending time with your grandchildren, perhaps seeing them for the first time when they entered into this world. Perhaps it is receiving those little synchronicities that you know are divinely being gifted to you. Taking in a deep breath now, letting it go once more. Bring some gentle movement to your body, your fingers, your toes. And when you are ready, blink open your eyes. And so, for those of you who were able to get it under 2, I want you to just spend some time, a couple of words or a couple of sentences, and just write about your experience and noticing, the feeling before and feeling after, where you felt it in your body before and how your body felt after, and really noticing that shift in your energy, in your body, in all of you, and how that taste of radical acceptance was able to expand you from that narrow fixed point of view. Noticing if there was any resistance as well that popped up for you with your experience. And so the more that we integrate radical acceptance into our lives, into our being, into it, and be created as a state of being that we completely embody, that brings us ultimately into our self-esteem. And I wanted to bring our session into an introduction deeper into self-esteem now. And first off, we're going to be talking about how the difference between self-esteem and self-love, because to me, one is the embodiment, and one is the is a part of bringing us into self-esteem. So when we are using uh, practices of self-love, that increases our self-esteem. That enables us to step more into our self-esteem. And there, I feel there could be a misconception between the two by trying to um, put them into the same category, if that's the right word. But they are completely different things as far as I am feeling into it. Self-love, they are acts that we can use. It is essentially a tool that we can use to enable us and empower us into our own, into our self-esteem. And self-love is a way that we can, we love ourselves first. And when we love ourselves first, that's for, I'm going to use my own self as a experience, as an example rather. Self-love for me is meeting that need for approval, that cyclic evolutionary fear that I keep coming back around to. When I practice self-love, then I am giving myself the approval that I am seeking. And then in doing that, I am coming into my self-esteem. So when I have fallen out of my self-esteem, then self-love is a beautiful way for me to come back in, to remember who I am and come back into my self-esteem. And when we embody self-esteem, we experience a complete transformation of our reality. Because when we have fallen out of self-esteem, we have, again, bought into the belief of separation. And we cannot be in our self-esteem while we are privileging that belief in separation, privileging that we are not, where we want to be, privileging the belief that we are stuck somewhere and not practicing radical acceptance. And as soon as we are practicing radical acceptance, then we are coming back into our self-esteem, and we are able to see a complete different reality. So the way I've come to see it is that when we have closed off from radical acceptance, when we have closed off from surrender, when we have closed off from the limitless potentials that are available to us, we have narrowed down to one fixed perspective, and we can't see anything outside or around that. And that is what we look like when we have bought the belief in separation. We've completely closed off. There's no opening. There's no way for us to access or move into any other potential. And so once we come back into our self-esteem, we then have access to all of the potentials, which therefore gives us that complete transformation of our reality. We are able to see perhaps the same thing because we have changed our mind about our reality, because we have changed our mind on the belief of separation, and have instead accepted radical acceptance and therefore surrender. We are then able to see our reality in a whole new way. And when I think of Joe Dispenza's teaching, who is a very well-known neuroscientist, I think of his description of what happens when we come out of the analytical mind, the high beta brainwave state, and we drop into alpha and theta. We are then opening up to more potentials, which is just another way to describe what I am talking about here. We go from that stuckness, that belief in separation in high beta brainwave, where our brain is constantly stuck in that fixed pattern of narrow thinking, And then we practice radical acceptance and we open up, we drop out of that high beta brainwave, that body mind addiction, and into new potentials that are limitlessly available to us. And when you embody your self esteem, that is the subconscious medicine for all of those around you. So when you are radiating with your self esteem, those people who see that from you, it gives them permission to do the same. It gives them to, it kind of sets off like a rippled motion for them, seeing that embodied self-esteem in action. It may be an activation at first where they feel triggered by it. And I think uh, Shanae, as those of most of you here will be familiar with, her in her Facebook group, she has the I Am Awesome theme day to completely squash the tall poppy syndrome. And that is a this that is an opportunity to truly, for everyone, that is an invitation for everybody to demonstrate an embodied self-esteem. And it is powerful. It is a subconscious medicine that this world is so desperate for. Outside of these communities where very much like Shanae's and heart centered and I am spiritually fierce, there is when you think of corporate world, when you think of corporate businesses and how it's dog eat dog, the patriarchal system of businesses, it's every man for himself and they're trotting on each other. That is not self-esteem. That is that narrowed thinking that we need to squash others for us to grow. And when we embody self-esteem, that is giving permission to those who are going to be in our field to do the same, and it uplifts that consciousness in such a powerful way, which is why I'm so excited to be embodying self-esteem for my own self, but also to share that, as I am just so passionate and excited to see just everybody in their self-esteem. What would the world look like if everyone was living in their self-esteem? And so self-esteem is radical acceptance in action. And that it is surrender in action. It is surrendering and accepting everything for what it is in this very present moment. And when we can truly embody that, we will see some massive ripples going out into the world. And so I am going to take you back into the world within the world now. And we are going to journey into meet the archetype who is inviting you to walk with her, from away with her and into your self-esteem. So when you are ready, I want you to close down your eyes again, taking a couple of deep breaths, cleansing breaths, allowing your breath to anchor you back into the world within the world. Diverting again out of the busy, analytical, reasoning mind that wants to know all the things, letting it all go. We are going on a journey together now to meet with an aspect of your energy who is calling you in. Bring to mind, Mhm. Okay. See before you a beautiful field of flowers. What color are the flowers? Are they flowers you've seen in this world, or perhaps they are an exotic flower you have never seen before because it exists only inside of you? And as you walk along this beautiful pathway that has just appeared beneath you, Take a moment to notice, what is the pathway made of? Is it cobbled stone? Is it dirt, pavement, gold? Allow whatever comes through to you to come through with ease and grace. You may see, feel, hear, or just know. Your eyes follow this pathway as it winds gently through these beautiful flowers. And the pathway leads you to a hill not too far off in the distance. And you follow this path with curiosity and joy as you soak in the wonder of this space. And you make your way up to the top of the hill effortlessly. And before you now is the entrance into this beautiful forest. And as you take a footstep into this forest, notice what sounds come to you. Do you hear the wind blowing softly through the leaves? Perhaps there is an owl somewhere hooting, unseen, but guiding you with its call. And as you walk through this forest, you gently outstretch your hands to touch the trees as you walk by them. And as you do, it seems as though you have been here before. And the trees seem to reach out to you, welcoming you home. And as you continue to walk through this forest, it begins to get a little darker with each step. You feel no fear, knowing that you have everything you need and that you are safe to go here. You find yourself at the edge of a small brook of water, and over by a tree which is not too far away from you, there is a person there waiting for you. Or perhaps it is an animal, a deity, an angel, a fairy. Allow this to come through to you in whatever way it needs to or is required to. And you walk over to them now, and they are smiling, radiating with love and compassion for you. This is the archetype who is your self-esteem. And they have called you in to support you as you step into your self-esteem. And this is the perfect moment for you to commune with them now. So in your mind's eye, silently or out loud, I want you to ask them, where am I limiting my self-esteem? You may see, hear, feel, or just know the answer. It could be instant, or it may take a little time. When you have your answer, ask this archetype of self-esteem now, what do I need to do to step into my self-esteem now? Again, allow that to come to you easily and gracefully. Once you have received that answer, ask, where am I being invited to show up in my self-esteem? Finally, ask, is there anything else you would have me know? This archetype of self-esteem goes with you now. She is available to you always. And now you know where you can find her, or him, or it. You bid your farewells in whatever way feels right for you, and you turn back to the pathway, making your way back through this forest that lives for eternity in your heart. And at the edge of the forest, there is a doorway. And you, as you approach the door, it slides open before you with ease and grace. And you walk through it. You find yourself sitting in your chair once more opposite me. Take in a deep breath now and let it go. Bring some gentle movement back to your body. And when you are ready, open your eyes. And I invite you to journal what was shared with you. Who was it that met you? And just type in the chat box if you need me to let you know what those prompts were again. So these two practices, this radical acceptance practice, where you highlight an area that you feel stuck. You can use this in a emotion, if you're feeling stuck in a feeling state or emotion, if you're feeling stuck with a physical ache or pain, rating what you're feeling on a scale of 1 to 10, and then holding that vibrational state of gratitude to bring it down to 2 or below, is a practice that you can use every single day. And meeting with your archetypal self-esteem is an invitation for you to go within the world to bring you back into self-esteem, and you can use that at any time that you need. So that is all I have to share with you today. If you do watch the replay and would like to share your experience with me, that would be absolutely beautiful. I'm going to stop the recording now.